And hopefully I'm live right now. I've had some issues on the other platform, so I'm jumping over to StreamYard, which is kind of like my backup for this kind of live broadcast. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. And anybody who'd like to join are welcome to join. I'll be doing it in just a second. So right here, this is, for example, a screen share that I could be doing. Right now, I'm doing the Charbax Conference, because there are no conferences happening. All the conferences are virtual. I can't go around, interview people. So I try to do I have 57, I think, remote interviews right now on a playlist that you can find linked somewhere on my channel. You look at the playlist, you can find the remote interviews playlist. And there I have 57 interviews thus far. I hope I can do a bunch more in the days, months to come. But right now I'm thinking, let's do like some kind of clubhouse. Let's do a thing where anybody can join on the link. There's a link right here in the chat. If you are watching, if you're interested, you can just join with your webcam and we can have a conversation about anything you'd like. We can talk about tech, the news, the latest tech, or we can talk maybe working on something really cool. So, and for example, I could also just do by myself, like I did actually earlier today. I was 28 minutes and nobody joined. But yesterday somebody joined. So that was a different kind of experience. It's cool when somebody wants to join and talk about the latest news. I can do like this. Just go over on Google News this time. Let's check some of the latest news. Everybody's talking about the Logitech Universal Remote, which probably is the best universal remote in the world because Logitech, everything they do is just the best in the world. But they're stopping it because I guess it's a lot of software support and all these smart TVs are just making things even harder for different smart universal remotes to interact. Maybe that's the reason. So here's a DuckDuckGo that just keep doing all kinds of marketing to try to get some attention, and it seems to work. LG didn't want to sell cheap phones, so they just a lot of companies just copying Apple's business model, which is to overprice a bunch of phones, and I think that's a mistake. They should all go into some kind of partnership with Google to share an ad revenue and just get these phones sold at cost and make money on the ads. This is the way to kill Apple, but nobody's done it. Not even Google does it. I'm just gonna switch back for a second. Right here. Here's some The Verge. To talk about unionizing Amazon. Okay, but doing this kind of video is more fun if somebody wants to join. Project Bernanke, what is that? So I'm not totally sure when is the first flight happening on this little. Oh, sorry, I'm not opening new tab. The little drone is going to get flying. For this kind of video that I'm doing right now, I need to figure out a way how to schedule it and figure out if somebody wants to join, maybe invite some people that I think might want to join in that kind of time, because it's more fun if somebody else jumps in here and start talking. Like a conference with just one person, that's more like that's a keynote. I'm not doing a keynote. This is not a keynote. It's just sitting around and checking out if somebody wants to say something. Somebody wants to join right here. But okay, I'll just go back to my web browser right now. Just comment a little bit. I mean, this what's happening on Mars is of course fascinating and amazing, and it's going to be really a big deal if humans can make drones and just fly. Oh, I hear somebody might have joined. I hear something. Anne, the device is not connected. I'll check back with you in a second. That'd be cool if you can get it to work. Just my opinion on what's it called? So the drone is getting to fly. I'm not totally sure if it. I always keep checking, and I don't really know if there's an official time. What does it say? Monday morning at 4 a.m. ET. I'm not totally sure. They've decided to delay the flight. Okay, it's a big deal if we can fly on Mars, but basically the latest rover is an exact clone, a copy of the one that was sent up like 8 years ago. You can check my interview with Dr. Robert Zubrin. He's like the biggest expert on the Mars stuff. It's awesome to be able to talk with him about all his opinions on the latest that's happening. The SpaceX Starship, that's the way. That should be the top priority for Joe Biden. Joe Biden should just go and say, hey, how many billion do you need? Let's send a bunch of humans. I don't really want to mention it, but like Joe Biden is like not the youngest guy. And, it should be like a huge priority for him to be able to see humanity get to Mars. And he should be able to just say that he wants it to happen in his current term and these 4 years or the next maybe second term. And so that's what I think. Of course, it's great to send these rovers that cost billion and that are a clone, exact copy of what they sent 8 years ago with just a different but few sensors and this little drone. But it's like the thing that they're doing with the latest rover is to say that they want to return samples. But what's the point in returning samples like 10 years later when in 10 years we're supposed to have humans there? And not only they can return samples, but they might find fossils of the proof of past life. And you're not going to be able to do that with a little drone that can fly for 30 seconds. But okay, it's great. I don't know if it's 30 seconds. I'm not complaining. I think it's great. Okay, let's get back to here. I got some comments. Hey, what's up? Smashing the like button. What does that mean? Are you hitting it with like your like button with some kind of bat? Yeah. And right here it says, hello, I am from Cuba. I hope you can travel to a tech fest again. It's very entertaining for me to see all that innovation. Yeah, Cuba, I hope you've got some good internet connection over there. Do you have like super cool fiber cables? Where do they connect? Are you connecting through to Mexico, or where's the cable go underwater? I hope everybody gets a fast internet and do all these kind of startups. I'd like to learn more of what's happening in Cuba. Hopefully something positive is happening with the tech. And hello, you made very interesting videos about ARM processors. News about Barrow's attempt to build an ARM-based laptop. So I spoke with Barrow recently, but let's say that he's doing something completely insane. I don't know what it is actually, but it's top secret. So so just wait to hear from Barrow again in the future. All right, thanks for the comments. Okay, let me get back to anybody want to join? Like I see there's 9 people watching. Maybe that's my counter showing this. If anybody want to join, you see maybe I can post it right here. Join here. This is the link. I put it in the chat again right here. If you're interested, just connect your webcam. Like wear a T-shirt, and you can join if you're interested. Okay, let me get back to this rover stuff. So of course it's awesome, but I just think it's a little bit of a shame when they're putting so much effort. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sending robots. Of course, they should send robots as much as possible to Mars. But with the same effort and budget, they could be sending humans, and they could have been sending humans like 10, 20 years ago. So that's a little bit my opinion on that. I'll just jump back right here. Facebook spent $23 million for Mark Zuckerberg's security. I think maybe he's trying to run away from these twins that gave him the idea for Facebook. Some twins that are making some billions buying all these Bitcoins, and I'm sure they're selling them, like just making money, like with real money. We're building great things, and we need I think that's advertising. So why are they talking about Australia? I'm not totally sure. What is so important with Australia? So the Epic thing, my internet, I can barely even load websites right now. What do you think of the Biden support to foundries in US? Well, to be honest, like it's not like I've been to any foundries. It's my dream, like my top dream, to be able to see how these ARM processors are made. But I think it's like top secret, and there's only like 1 or 2 foundry suppliers that are really making the cutting edge. As far as I understand, Intel is hopeless. I mean, that's what I understood when I did an interview recently. You can check it out, where we were talking about how much Intel is behind TSMC and Samsung. But I think the main thing the US has to do is just to put like a bucket loads into the Intel fabs and see what can happen out of that. And maybe try to pay TSMC and Samsung to build fabs in the US. But I think it's more or less hopeless, right? It's just TSMC is the only one who's got the, and Samsung, they have the cutting edge. And as I understand, the stuff Samsung is doing in Texas is not the cutting edge. The cutting edge stuff is in Korea. So they've all made sure to put the cutting edge locally in their home countries, because it was like a visionary. Like they knew that some kind of, it's if you own 3 nanometer, 5 nanometer, you own the future, you own the world, and you can pretty much like decide who gets the technology. And this is a big deal. So that's what I think about that. But it'd be nice if somebody else would like to join and give smarter opinions than me. So I'm hanging out here a little bit longer to check out. Somebody would like to join this live stream. I'll get back to my browser over here. I'm really rooting for Epic. Pretty much, I'm always rooting against Apple. But when Apple did this M1 recently, it was pretty much the first time ever that I was kind of like not hating Apple, because this M1 that I'm using right here, I mean, this is exactly the future, and this is like experiencing the future and being able to edit 4K videos like way faster than any Intel Xeon even. It's smoother on my ARM-powered laptop, little ARM-powered laptop, MacBook Air, than on the huge server, Intel Xeon. I can edit 4K faster. It is like completely crazy. Would be interesting to talk about RISC-V, present and future. Yeah, I'd like to learn. I sent some emails and stuff, tweets to some different people that work at around the RISC-V, and hopefully one of them would like to be in an interview. I'd like to know what's going on there. Hopefully it's not mainly to do with putting pressure on ARM to keep the license fees low, because that's kind of like the thought I've had a lot around the RISC-V. It sounds to me like it's some kind of, trying to put some sticks in wheels of the bicycle, the ARM bicycle that's just so far ahead. I hope that's not what it's all about. But that's why I need to do some interviews and understand what's the latest with the RISC-V. When will somebody finally make a decent Linux phone for $99? Great question. I mean, Androids are Linux phones, but I even tried to follow this guy. I forgot his name. He is leader of the Made by Google stuff. I saw him at a conference once, but I think he's trained not to speak with YouTubers and stuff. So he was like quick to walk away. The big question I have is, why doesn't Google make super phones for $99 or $199 or maybe $299 maximum, and just put all the features that the best high-end Android phones can have, but sell them at cost? Why does Google need to copy Apple? I don't really understand this. There's no need for Google to overprice phones. I mean, they make their money on advertising, right? So this is something that I don't really understand, and it's been 10 years that I haven't understood this. Actually, in the beginning, it was cool. The Nexus phone was cheap, right? The first one, I don't remember if it was just the first and the second one, like they were cheap. I think it was $349, something like that. That was kind of cool. That was actually kind of like great. But then they went to all these $599, $699, and I don't understand. I think they even have more expensive ones. I don't understand this. Don't quite understand. Yeah, Intel shows in their last presentation RISC-V core solutions plan. Oh, so now, so Intel is making it public that they're behind this. I'm joking, but I mean, kind of. As far as I understand, some of the RISC-V guys kind of like, let's say there was a boardroom, some kind of meeting, where they say, what are we going to do about this ARM stuff? They just dominate everything. They control the world. What are we going to do? Oh, let's help these guys from the university. They're doing a project, and let's just give them some money or something. Okay, I'm just, this is a little bit like the obvious thing that I kind of imagine is behind this. Because the ARM licenses, as far as I understand, for anyone who makes those chips, is like a smallest part of their costs. It's not the license. The cost is actually designing their custom chip and making them, Like, I don't know if the ARM license is less than 5% of the expense or something like that. So, and you are, with ARM, you're able to customize. So as far as I understand, you can customize a lot. Even on the microcontroller side, or even on the high end, you can customize whatever you want. So I don't totally get it, but okay. This is a little bit my opinion on that. But I mean, this doesn't mean that I don't want to learn what's happening, because it is interesting when these hard drive guys are using RISC-V to make the hard drives. And that's what I understand, that maybe they're just talking about it. I don't know if they're really doing it. There's these little chips in the hard drives, and I don't know if they've done it yet or just talking about it. Because I think a lot of these huge companies that license millions and hundreds of millions of ARM chips, of ARM cores, they license them, right? And then it adds up. So they kind of use that as a common sense thing to just put the pressure on ARM to, hey, keep your licenses low. We use an alternative. But often people do that just as a threat. And that's often been what the ARM has been versus Intel. Some of the companies have been threatening Intel to switch to ARM on the servers unless Intel kept the prices low. And that was a little bit like, for example, I think what Huawei was doing. For years, Huawei has been doing some ARM processors for servers, but they haven't, as far as I know, used them. They always use them as a little kind of thing to let Intel know that if they go too crazy with the huge prices for the Intel Xeon, that Huawei might switch. But they could have switched. They should have switched a long time ago, as far as I understand. But as far as I know, they haven't really switched. So the only one really offering alternative, as far as I know, like in a huge production, is the Amazon Graviton processor, right? As far as I know. But there is a whole bunch of other ARM servers happening, and there were happening a bunch of Thunder X2, and they were talking about Thunder X3, but then they killed the whole team. I'm not totally sure what happened there at Marvell. Why would they buy Cavium and then kill the whole team? I'm not totally sure. Maybe they didn't kill the whole team. Maybe they just killed the custom chip design part of the team, and they still maybe they're just gonna license the ARM cores, and maybe they didn't need to customize. So I'm not totally sure what's happening there. Okay, let's get back to. So I'm just gonna say it again. Like, if anybody wants to join, there's you can see it right here. You can join this live chat here. Okay. My connection, I'm not totally sure if it's keeping up. I can't even post a comment, or maybe it does get out. Yeah. So I'll switch back to my screen right here. So I was doing this. So Samsung has started development on the Z Fold 3 firmware. What is that? So there's the Samsung Z Fold, which are foldable phones. So I did all these videos with BOE, right, and some other providers of flexible OLED displays. I just hope that somebody gets these out there at affordable prices, because that's, when these phones cost $2,500, I don't really think that's fascinating. I think it's a little bit of a, I want to see them for $499. Like, as far as I understand, the flexible OLED display doesn't have to cost more than the one with the glass in front, So as far as I understand, it's just the same display, but not with a glass, some kind of plastic layer in front. So why do these phones have to cost nearly $3,000? I mean, for me, that's like three cars. You can buy secondhand cars for $1,000. Why would you pay 3 cars for a phone? I don't quite get that. It's like unless it levitates, and if you can wash your clothes in the air with rainwater, then maybe you can pay $3,000. But I'm not totally sure. Otherwise, I mean, it's some people have so much money and they think, why not? But I want to see those mass market and cheap and affordable. Maybe they have a problem making them reliably, those flexible displays. But I would hope not. Now it's 2-3 years that they've been doing them, right? So we need to get them affordable. Who remember first Microsoft Surface tablet with ARM CPU? It didn't come with full Windows version, and you couldn't install software for x86 emulation, right? So I was there, and it was so awesome to see, what's the name of Bulmer? He was jumping around and stuff, and I think it was CES 2012 or 13. So it's a while ago. It's a long time ago. There was Windows RT. So my theory back then was that they could do the whole package. They could emulate, run faster performance than x86. They could have done all that already, even back in 2006. That's what I think. I think Apple did a mistake going on Intel. They should have gone custom ARM even back then. At least they should have done that around 2010, 12, because the money these companies have are trillions. And so they should be able to just tell some guys, these chip designers, to please optimize a chip for a laptop, and don't just take a smartphone chip in a laptop. That's too easy. Just optimize a chip for the laptop. And the M1 is really, I mean, Qualcomm has been doing it for a couple of years, but the M1 is really kind of like what they should have done years ago, all these guys. They should have taken and optimized a chip for a laptop, because it's a different size. It's different power. You have like something like 3 times more power than in the phone, right? You want to have more power in there. And you want to run full desktop OS on these. So you want to optimize for that. So I also think that the Wintel was still alive back then. And so Microsoft was also doing this as some kind of threat, or some kind of they didn't really want to leave the x86. They just, I'm not sure what Microsoft was thinking, but yeah, it was not really, they didn't do it the right way, the RT. And still now, I have a Windows 10 on ARM laptop. I can't run Chrome on it. There's no video editor that works. I can't even install Microsoft Office. I think it doesn't even run natively on it. So it's emulating. So even Microsoft Office is not native on ARM. So, I mean, that just shows that they're not really into it yet. But now with the M1, everything is changing. Here it says $3,000. I can get 2 high-end servers. Yeah, exactly. And they're this is why Apple is really looking at it. But I think maybe the reason Apple hasn't done a flexible iPhone yet is because they really see that their supply is not there. It's like a little bit like the whole thing where you don't have enough chipsets to even make cars right now. They have these huge issues with supply. Maybe Apple sees and says, yeah, they could make a flexible iPhone, but if they only have like 10,000 units, even if they price them at $3,999, they don't even want to bother doing it, because they need to have 10 million supply ready to even, to get out the door. So I think it's a little bit the issue they have. So anybody want to click, join? You have the link right there. Just, with your Zoom setup that you have at home, Microsoft Teams, whatever you have, just join here. You can just join with this link and we can have a conversation. Maybe it would be more interesting than just me talking and trying to talk. And when I have these noise canceling headphones, I actually speak super loud. It's a little bit weird. Because I can't hear myself, this is a little bit weird thing. So maybe I shouldn't be, I'm not listening to anything actually. I'm just using my little mic right here. But I'll be listening as soon as somebody joins. Okay, let me get back to my browser window right here. If anybody has any other comment, you're welcome. Otherwise, if you don't want to join, if you don't have a webcam, but you know somebody who might want to join, you know someone who has a story to tell, maybe you know somebody who's working on amazing tech and they can't get it, like they want to talk about it to a YouTuber, let them know. They can join here, or let them contact me. Ooh, Sahaj, cool. Give a couple minutes. I'll join. Awesome. Okay, cool. That's great. So so if you know somebody who's doing some cool tech, let them know that they should contact me. I want to do the video. I want to interview all the people doing cool tech out there, because while there aren't like so many, there are no conferences. There's only virtual events, like chat room kind of things where people meet up. Let's do kind of like a conference on my YouTube channel for now. And anybody can join, anybody can talk. It's like a little kind of like a clubhouse thing. Okay, I'll get back to my browser window. This one right here. So that was the Fold. LG is leaving. ID4. Yeah, so Volkswagen and all these European cars, my opinion is that there's one way they can kill Tesla. And I think it's an easy way, but I'm not totally sure why none of them have thought of it yet, or why they haven't gone in this direction. I haven't even seen any rumors or anything that they're going in the direction that I think they should just agree on a common standard for the batteries and have them be swappable. If they just do that, you can reduce the price of the EV by 30 or 40%. You can make it future-proof. Every EV, every European EV can be future-proof. I think it's a no-brainer. And also, instead of paying $35,000 for a Tesla Model 3, you would be paying $20,000 because you don't buy the battery. And then you just pay every month $50 for the small battery for the short range, which is enough for most people. And when you go on a long trip, at the exit of your city, there's a swap. You can swap to the huge battery capacity. Just use it for 1 or 2 or 3 days. And when you arrive at your destination, maybe it's another city, you swap back to a low capacity battery. And then with this new battery technology in the future, you just swap to it. So I've been saying this for 10 years since Better Place, but it seems nobody, I don't know, a lot of people are responding that I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. So I think that would be a no-brainer, so easy. The Europeans could be selling cars at 10,000 euro. That would be awesome cars, awesome Volkswagens at 10,000 euro. You don't get the battery, you pay a service for the battery and make it a standard, so all the Chinese and all the different suppliers can compete on making new batteries with new technology and making in the standard kind of like fittings and sizes that you can swap in 1 minute. Okay, that's what I've been waiting for. Yup, charging stations should be battery swap stations instead. I'm not saying that you can't supercharge. Of course, you can build all the superchargers you want, and you can charge at work, at home, at school, at the supermarket. Of course, you should be able to charge, but you should also be able to swap. So it's like, why not have both? The only argument against it is the whole thing Elon Musk talks about, trying to make battery part of the structure to save space and maybe optimize the weight and stuff like that. But I think that's just another argument for him to bundle his batteries with every Tesla. And this is a big part of his business model, because if you start buying much cheaper batteries, then all his $100 billion investment in the gigafactories of batteries and stuff, like maybe it's not a priority for him to. Maybe he's not against it, because every Tesla Model S, X, I think is kind of like ready right now for battery swap. Like they're all actually having the whole thing system under. They could battery swap right now, actually. And he could swap over to battery swap business model if somebody asked him to please do that. Like the EU, I think, should do that. Ooh, Sahaj. Hey, what's up? Hey, how are you?
Is my audio?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Pretty good. I just saw you live, and looks like you were.
T-shirt from the latest Linaro Connect?
No.
No, you didn't get a T-shirt at the desk.
No? I hope there was a desk. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah. So how was that? How was the latest Linaro Connect?
Pretty good. Couple of, not more than couple of very interesting talks, and yeah.
Can you think about one or two that you think was awesome?
I love the open source graphics one. I mean, I always love them. I do some of them myself alternately. But yeah,
what's
it was
the name
really
of that
nice.
person who does that? Collabora, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alyssa from Collabora is usually the one doing the talk, and yeah, like Freedreno, reverse engineered Qualcomm GPU drivers are actually shipping with Google Chromebooks, which is very fun to see, to have them out in an actual product rather than just be enthusiast grade project. So they are actually shipping at this point.
So that means when people buy these, are they which ARM chip are you talking about?
The 730G or something.
Yeah, that's the one in the HP Chromebook.
Yeah, Acer one.
The Acer one.
Yeah.
There was this really cool new Chromebook that's not very expensive. I thought it was an HP that I think uses this Qualcomm chip. I'm not totally sure. Maybe so basically they all have this Freedreno.
Yeah.
But not to run the Chrome OS, right?
No, to run the Chrome OS. The entire stack on Chrome OS on Qualcomm chipset is running on reverse engineered drivers.
Whoa.
Totally open source. No binary blob in the US space. Yeah.
Does that mean it's reach equal performance?
Yeah, it's very close.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So what's up?
Great. It was interesting what you were talking about, because with the whole battery situation, because that's something that's been a discussion at my home as well, and everyone basically agrees that it's stupid to wait for 20 minutes, 15 minutes even for a battery to charge, where with the gas car you can just plug it in for a couple of minutes and it fills it up with gas. So it's better to have the battery replaced. That way you we just rent the battery technically, and in a year or two when the capacities go down by 90 to 80%, it doesn't really affect anyone that bad, because the company can recycle the batteries themselves. It doesn't have to be taken out of the car.
Yeah,
it adds, I guess that whole system would add a bit of a bulk, but that's something people will deal with, find a way around it.
Yeah, so as far as I understand, every single, for example, Model S and Model X Teslas, the most famous Teslas other than the Model 3 right now. They all kind of like have it right now. They have swapping, like they have all the bolts and everything. And Tesla even did a swapping station that they were showing off a 1 or 2 or 3 minute swap. But yeah, there's so much demand for these Teslas, and they sell them immediately. Every single one they make in the factory. So I don't think they have it as a priority right now.
Yeah.
But their competitors should all gang up, and maybe even like take the Tesla size battery format and just use it for all these European cars. I even think
Unless
Tesla
they
has
have it
opened.
patented.
Yeah, but I think Tesla has opened them. As far as I know, there's some patents that are kind of like free and open from Tesla. I don't know if that's including the battery formats and sizes and stuff, but not even if you have to charge for 10, 20 minutes. I think many of the superchargers take 40, 50 minutes. And it's really like, when I'm renting a car and I'm driving 1,200 kilometers on gas, and in this place where I'm right now, there's no way I would charge. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
But if there needs to be some kind of, like if there's a few battery swap stations, even in strange countries, there would be enough to cover huge areas and people not be worried, I think. Not only about their range, but also about the investment. When you buy a new car, you don't want to be stuck with the current battery tech, and like 2 years later already it's outdated, because the battery tech that comes in 2 years.
I think not even about being outdated, but like I expect a car to be very well running in 5 years, and then to be at least very well usable up to 10, 12 years. And I still don't think lithium ion can last that long. Definitely not the original pack. I'll be very surprised if Tesla batteries last for like 10 years.
Yeah, I think they don't really last. I think the insurance they have is some kind of 7 years or something, maybe.
Yeah.
And so you pretty much have to think of swapping, you're paying for a new battery 7 years after. If the batteries were just not your ownership, but you could swap to wherever you wanted, you like in 10 years, your car would actually be better than now. That would be like a Chromebook. So it would keep getting better. Like there's one comment right here. Technos Africa, I thought Chrome OS was discontinued. That's his comment.
On the contrary, it's actually gaining quite a bit of steam.
I always thought when I went to all these Linaro Connects for all these years, I always thought that maybe the Chromebooks would be the perfect device for Linaro engineers, as long as you could run, like you can swap and put whatever Linux you want, right? But you need to just have a Chromebook that you can upgrade the RAM, and that would make a lot of you guys happy, no?
So upgradable RAM, there's a very interesting like two-faced coin about upgradable RAM, and like this guy on Twitter, Hector Martin, was kind of explaining it pretty well. The situation with soldered on RAM is that they draw very low power. If you make the RAM upgradable, it actually, because at the speeds we are running right now, it consumes so much power that it actually makes sense on laptops to make the RAM soldered on. But I think that I don't think that's even one of the issues. I think the more pressing issue is that most ARM chips at the moment can't really take beyond 8 gigabytes of memory. 4 is sort of the standard. Then you go into the Qualcomm stuff that can take 8 or 12. What devs really need at Linaro for like Yocto builds, and even if not just if someone's doing just the kernel work, then that's fine. But if like Yocto and other stuff like AOSP and everything else, you really want 32 to 64 gigs of RAM. So Chrome OS in itself, I don't see a whole lot of problem because you can like run that Linux environment, and that has gotten very nice over the years. So, but it's just like ARM chips right now don't really have all that memory capacity to handle. And if you want a laptop, then and you're working at Linaro, why won't you buy? You'd either buy a Dell or you'd buy an ARM laptop. And right now, there's not a whole lot of choice. Even the MacBooks are like just 16 gigs.
I'm kind of thinking Google should be able to have done this by now, and they should have kind of had everybody in the Silicon Valley. They kind of know what everybody's doing, even though it's secret, right? Because there's so many employees. So I'm sure Google should have known about the M1 for 1 or 2 years now. Probably they should have known that it's coming out. A lot of rumors. Everybody kind of knew,
I,
I guess. So I'm
I,
hoping Google has a Whitechapel ready that can compete with the M1 and in
I
the
hope
Chromebooks.
I hope too, but like one of the weirder things is that the rumors around Pixel 6 is that they are going with a custom chip, but that custom chip is based on Exynos from Samsung. So that's sort of a weird move because again, that's not a part that will compete with an M1. So not sure what they have in mind for future Chromebooks or Pixel books or whatever, but hopefully,
I,
because I've said the same thing about Qualcomm and other ARM competitors, that you should have seen what the stuff they are putting, the stuff Apple is putting in their iPads for like last 4 years, and you should have prepared yourself for that. But like no one did. I don't know why. It baffles me that why no one really invested as much in custom core designs on an ARM based architecture.
I do think that I don't know all the details, but I think Samsung has been pretty much on par with TSMC for the last 5-10 years. Every generation, it's not
No, well,
for
that's
example, the
their
the Samsung Fab I'm talking about.
yeah. The Fab's different thing, but I'm
Yeah,
talking like the Pixel 6 has the Exynos. Um, Pixel 6 will be based on the Exynos
yeah, but
CPU.
when people say that, I wonder if they really just like when you work in a fab like Samsung Fab, of course you're gonna have a whole bunch of IP and blocks and what do you call it, uh, the e
Yep.
the all the software where you design the chip, and of course it's going to be related to whatever Exynos is because that's
Mhm.
like in that family. So like when Samsung was the Samsung Fab was making the Apple CPUs, then Apple was using the Samsung tools for doing all the CPUs. And at one point, I think Samsung gently kind of kicked Apple out, but everybody, I mean, let's say maybe Apple also wanted to go TSMC. Everybody thinks
Yeah.
TSMC is the best right now, but I also think that the capacity in the fab is limited, especially for the cutting edge. And Samsung wanted to have Apple out of their fab. So they, at one point, I think it was 3-4 years ago, Samsung even had engineers at TSMC helping them port the ARM stuff over to their fab when they did the switch. Maybe it was only 2 or 3 years ago. But so I'm thinking, I'm sure Samsung can do an amazing chip that can compete with the M1. The only question is, are they going to put the billions
Mm.
necessary to design the perfect chip and also to reserve capacity needed to make millions of them?
I think Samsung already closed the gates on that. They had a couple of custom core designs. It was actually called the M5. Um, so that was a custom IP that was about to come out. Was it Samsung M5? Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but yes, yep, there it is. Exynos M5.
Do you want to screen
Mouse.
share?
I'm looking if it's the right thing. Um, yeah, sure. Let's see. So, um, yeah, maybe not this one, but
That
there
was
was a
like 2 years
custom.
ago, right?
Yeah, there was a custom. Yeah, so it's a micro architecture. Sure. Yeah, this is the one. They were developing their own micro architecture based on ARM 64-bit, and I think they then closed the gate on it. And M5 might have been the last one to come out of it, which is still in their current highest generation um, stuff. Um, um, on the Exynos part, and that part's I think built on 7 nanometer. So probably this is why they were at TSMC, because they were building their own parts there. Because Samsung only goes up to 8, from what I've heard. Let's see.
Samsung has 5 also, no?
But don't they go directly from 8 to 5, and then TSMC goes from 7 to 5? I can just
I
search that.
didn't see.
Yeah, no, it's Samsung's own foundry. Never mind. I thought
So it was like last year, both TSMC and Samsung are in the 5 nanometer, as far as I remember. But yeah, I just think there's been a lot of hating on the Exynos from, I think, the Apple crowd, because anything that's not Apple, they always have been hating on it. And another thing that I'm also wondering is, maybe it doesn't need to be custom to make an awesome M1 competitor. It just needs to be the right core. As far as I understand, ARM even announced a couple months ago, right?
the
Some
X1
cores that are optimized for something like a laptop, right? So maybe they just launch it with that. Maybe, like whatever ARM has announced 2 months ago, these guys have been knowing for a year and a half. I mean, they've been, it's not like they are surprised with the new announcement. They knew this stuff. So, the guys like Google and Microsoft, they just need to put the money. It doesn't matter if Qualcomm is making it or who's making it. They just need to put the money and say, we want to have 10 million processors that totally kill Intel in laptops. Just give them to us. And then, of course, they have to put $10 billion to support all the software support right behind.
Yeah.
But that's for them, it's peanuts. I mean, 10 billion is not even 1% of their cash. I don't know. It's like nothing. Sometimes maybe I'm exaggerating. What?
But yeah, no, I agree. It's like people should have seen this coming. The M1 shouldn't have been a surprise and as much of a leapfrog that it is, but I guess everyone was just sitting and doing nothing for a while. And then Apple just got them by surprise. So
I think it's the same story that's been going on for, let's say, 2 decades. Since 1999, something like that. It's always all these giants, Samsung, LG. Like there's a comment right here. What about the death of LG Mobile? All these companies have hundreds of billions of dollars on their Swiss bank accounts, right? They have so much money, or not Swiss, but Irish bank accounts, wherever they put their cash. They have so much money, but they don't know when it's the time to invest. It's like they just wait back and wait for Apple to make something trendy, and then they follow. I don't understand why they're doing this, because they're leaving trillions of dollars on the table. So I don't really understand. I thought capitalism was like people would be smart and make money, but it seems that they're just waiting and letting Apple make all the money.
Yeah, with the LG Mobile one was kind of a surprise for me, because I honestly thought that Sony would go first. Like Sony has awesome phones. I love them. They are super expensive. That's one of their problems. But they're great phones. And I fear that after LG, Sony is the one to go. But like LG was experimenting a bit too much and only releasing these experiments. Maybe there was an ounce of weird software stuff. But like, I'm sad LG went away that quick, because it was one of the few who were doing surprisingly different phones all the time.
Yeah.
Like the V series has had great DAC. They just released the whole swivel one, and like I'm kind of sad they went away. I mean, in the Android market, it just looks like, what are the top ones we have? Motorola, Nokia, Google, Samsung. That's it. Is there anyone that's larger? Xiaomi maybe in the lower end.
There's a comment. We could talk about non-Android alternative OS in mobile devices.
As soon as you port and like Google Play Store to anything, it'll be fine as a transition app. So even like Collabra has done some work on it to run Android apps natively on Linux. Um, but yeah, the only reason why Google dominates and no one has been able to break through with a completely custom OS is the Play Store and the app ecosystem. That's the hard thing to do. It's like the OS is easy. We have thousands of Linux distro, some die and some reemerge. You know, like people have been doing that for ages, but making that app ecosystem is hard work, and that's the benefit Google's reaping.
I think like you're saying, just have Google Play work, and then do all kinds of other stuff. So it doesn't matter if you are doing a Windows phone. I mean, I'm joking, but when they
No,
were doing
like
Windows Phone, they should have just had the Google Play on the Windows Phone, but they never even
Black,
considered doing that.
BlackBerry did that for a while, even before uh, their um, their shift to Android. They had Play Store on their RIM devices, and some of them did. And the app compatibility stuff was a bit weird, but it still worked. But I guess BlackBerry had other issues at that point. The other issue with getting Play Store on your device is licensing. You can't just sell a device with Play Store installed on it. It has to be licensed by Google.
Yeah, but I understand, but this is wrong. So these
Yeah.
huge companies should just go and not. I'm not going to joke about doing a hunger strike, but doing some kind of strike in front of the EU building and saying, "We need you to make sure that we can take whatever we take our Google Play and take the Google apps and not have Google
Um,
impose all kinds of
the
rules
other
on us."
work The other workaround is to use alt Play stores, maybe the Amazon Fire Store or some other the F-Droid store, anything else that allows you to be a part of that Google ecosystem and Google App ecosystem and all that, or have all those apps in place.
Yeah, but I don't think Google should continue this business model. I think it's just wrong, and I don't think they even profit on it. So I don't
No,
really
that's
get
the
it.
only thing they profit on. That's the only thing they profit on is the app ecosystem.
But they don't make any money on. As far as I know, all the money is on advertising for them. Like 99% of their income is advertising. It's not like
They get a cut on every device sold from manufacturers on every Play Store install. Like it's more of a membership thing from what I remember. So there's a
that's
fair
not what
bit of
I.
money.
That's not the way I heard it. I heard that Android is free, but they put this rule on. I don't know. It's just limiting innovation, and I don't think they profit at all on it. As far as I know, Google is just an advertising income company. But I mean, it's huge
For the
income,
most part,
especially
yeah.
when they can track everyone and they can improve your ads when you go on your desktop because they know what you've been doing on your phone and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I understand they want to do that and they want to continue doing that, but tracking people, um, you can still do that if it's another OS. People, everybody will still want to use YouTube. They'll still want to use Gmail. They'll still want to use Google for searching, for navigation, Google Maps. I mean, there's nobody's going to go away from that. So it doesn't matter what OS; they're still going to be able to track people. So I don't. Okay, I just okay. That's a different kind of thing. The problem is that nobody's making a secure ecosystem for developers to monetize a Linux-based solution. So I have an opinion on that, but you're more into the Linux stuff than I'm just like a YouTuber, right? But I always think that government needs to uh, have some kind of part of a tax income needs to go to artists who make music, movies, but also should go to developers who make open source software. I think there could be billions of dollars coming from like some kind of tax because everybody benefits from open source. So you should just submit your code, and when you submit your code, they know it's you who submitted it, and then you get paid based on how much people are using your software. I think there should be a way to do that. Even a company like Google should be able to just, let's say they have a pool of 5 billion per year or whatever, and they can say they will start contributing because they're making so much money on open source. I mean, they already contribute a lot, but let's say somebody needs to go and say, let's do that, because Google knows exactly how many times you run as an average, how many times you're going to run software that's going to be based on this developer, the work they did in the open source.
For the most part, they do. If they're using a code base, I think for the most part they do. Maybe they'll just promote the project directly. No.
Yeah. So do you mean they do go in there and support and fund and sponsor and stuff like that? I understand, but I still think there's something that could be done there. But that it should be in the same wave. I call it. It was called in France in 2005. It's called a global license, and it was the idea that so many people go on Pirate Bay and they pirate with BitTorrent and all these French movies and French albums. Like the artists selling CDs. I mean, that completely died in 2003 or whatever, because it was what was it called, that thing people were pirating all the music on. So there was a talk of having a. What do you say?
LimeWire?
Yeah. But there's another one before that. What was the famous one? There was a famous one.
Yeah.
The guy went on to be a co-founder in Facebook, or like an early investor in Facebook. So they were thinking, just take €5 per month on the ISP when people pay for the internet connection, and give all that money to the artists. But I'm thinking this should also go to developers, especially open source, because Napster, that's right.
Yeah,
Napster. In the fiscal year 2020, 80.5% of Google's revenue came from advertising on Google properties and YouTube. The Google Cloud revenue segment generated 7.2% of the company's revenues. So we're talking about 87.7% is not apps, at least, right? It's not the little 30% commission they want to take on every in-app purchase of the Epic games, whatever it is. So I just think this talk is a little bit weird, because neither Apple nor Google is really making any significant part of their profits from this 30%. So they should just give it up. At least let people use alternative ways of payment. Like when you go and pay for something, you have a choice between Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal and whatever. So when you pay for an in-app, you should be able to choose to pay through the Apple thing, or you should be able to pay with whatever, and you can use the PayPal, the Epic payment, whatever, and Apple cannot claim a commission and all that.
Why give up 30%?
Because Apple makes all the money selling the hardware. So why would they not want to sell more hardware? And just what's the point in them taking the 30?
They because it's additional revenue, because they do make a lot of money running the App Store. Google, on the other hand, makes more money from revenue, and that's why their policies aren't super strict on Play Store. But still, they have those policies, and it's just like, from a large conglomerate's point of view, it's still a lot of money. That why would they just give it away?
Well, I don't know. I'm just arguing against the guys. Like somebody was writing something about the. You have to. It's easy for me to think that because I'm a geek, but I have to try to tell that to the board of investors. Well, I actually think the board of investor wants to make more money, so I think I'm right. Apple just needs to sell more iPhones. They make $700 profit on every iPhone. So why are they arguing about taking a cut on the little what's it called, that game where people dance, the thing there, that kind of the big, I forgot the name of that.
Twister?
Yeah, the Twister, the Fortnite. Why do they insist on taking money inside of Fortnite when people buy coin to change their mustache or whatever they do in the game? I forgot. It doesn't. I don't know. I expect Apple to lose this lawsuit. Otherwise, it'd be weird, I think.
They're going to drag it, but they lose it. Talking about lawsuits, the whole the the Oracle versus Google thing went down nicely.
The Crackle.
Oracle versus Google.
Ah, Oracle. Yeah, Oracle. Yeah, it's funny because wasn't it Eric Schmidt who was part of the team that made Java at no,
Maybe.
that was not. That was not. That was before, right? Sun, and they got acquired by Oracle. But so basically, Eric Schmidt, the CEO, the ex-CEO of the Googles, was in the team doing the Java and stuff, and then they complained later. It's a little bit weird. And wasn't it open, or what was the story?
No. The API was supposedly open licensed, and then when Google used it to make money, Oracle came after that they have to pay them royalty fees on a per device basis, um, and that was the whole fight whether APIs are copyrightable or not. Because what Google was doing, Google didn't use the Java runtime environment. They created Dalvik in the early days. They created Dalvik, which was their own Java runtime environment, and all they did was copy sort of the name of the API and a bit of a definition type API code. So it was not really functional code like what's the code you'll write for 2 plus 2 equal 4. It's going to be same everyone. No one's going to have a different method of doing it. So it was that simple. It was stuff that couldn't be done any other way. So they didn't for Google in terms of the API not being a copyright thing. Google was doing the right thing, and Oracle thought that because it's their API, Oracle deserves a Oracle deserved a payout on that. So
So it's funny that it took like 7 years. Or I don't know how long this lawsuit's going on. So all these companies are suing once in a while. They sue here and there, but in those 7 years, Google made $7 trillion of revenue, or whatever. And like these, if sometimes these lawsuits they end up with like a little fine. I mean, this is not about fines and stuff, but it could have been. But then it's like peanuts for them compared to all the revenue they make in all these
but I
when they
think
go through.
but the lawsuit sets a precedent about APIs not being copyrightable, which is a good thing for the entire open source or even closed source world for that matter. Like if APIs are copyrightable, then the entire emulation is the emulation scene is all illegal. The whole QEMU and well, QEMU is still emulators, but like that scene is all the reverse engineering scene goes down. You can't have open source reverse engineered drivers because technically they are reusing APIs. Then the whole GNU project is illegal because that's rebuilding every star thing from Unix. Maybe not in the same manner as Google did from Java, um, but still, so that opens up a lot more lawsuits and makes a lot more things illegal if API suddenly becomes a thing you can copyright.
Were there any reverse engineering in the API and the way Android is built, or?
Yeah, because they were like, we are not going to use this proprietary Java runtime environment. We are going to rewrite our own runtime environment, but make it compatible with Java. So they basically rewrote the entire API set, but because it was the Java API, the namespaces and everything else, all the functions needed to be exactly the same to make it compatible, but the underlying code was not.
Is there something to be said about who was controlling the Java before Oracle had it? Like, was it Sun or? And
Yeah, the problem started when Oracle took over Java. I think
but
Sun would have been a lot more.
can you take over a company and then reverse the opinion or the platform after you acquire a company and say, hey, whatever you're doing, just crash it down because now I own it. You're supposed to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's yours now. It's your IP. It's your employees, your teams now. You can
Yeah,
do
but
whatever.
once you open something, right? Can't you just like isn't there like some kind of thing to be said about if you open it, then it's done, and if somebody acquires later, they can't close it down again?
No. If someone
No.
acquires Linux tomorrow and they say after today it's not open source, then anything before that day remains open source, anything after that day remains closed source. But because Java was closed from the beginning, it wasn't like an open source environment. It was a well documented stuff. You can write your own code, but you had to use the proprietary GDK, so JDK and JRE to run the Java stuff. Um, it all ended up coming under Oracle, and you couldn't do anything with it.
There's
So
one comment right here. Jose said the Oracle CEO was a close friend of Steve Jobs. Maybe that was a real reason to just hurt Google.
maybe.
I was thinking recently that I remember this at one point Steve Jobs, I don't know, he was jogging with what's his name, Larry Page or something like that, or maybe the other co-founder Sergey Brin, some kind of thing where he went and screamed at them and say, "What are you doing? You're just copying the iPhone," or something like that. But I think the Android was actually kind of like 2-3 years before the iPhone came out, kind of, right? I mean, even though there weren't devices out, the whole project was already running.
Yeah.
And it's not like they invented anything, right?
Mhm.
iOS is just, what is it?
I mean, if you look at it, iPhone was PDA with a SIM card in the beginning. I've seen PD that were much advanced than iPhones at the time, but they were just bulky things that you can't call on. They still had Wi-Fi, and then the iPhone came out, which was slimmer, had a bit more juice. You didn't need a stylus; you can touch. So they just added a capacitive touch to it, and then added a SIM card and redid the OS. So it wasn't a concept that was old or no one could think of. It's just they did it better, and that's sort of been the story of Apple. Sure, ARM laptops have been out there, but Apple just made it better to the point that it almost looks like a new product.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, of course, he wanted to destroy Android. I'm not surprised.
I think the thing that kind of made the iPhone and after it was the iPad, it was just a question of putting cash down for supply of capacitive displays at the display factory, the display makers. Apple they had a few billion, not so many, but they had a few billion, and they could say, hey, we're going to put 1 or 2 or 3 billion, and we're going to reserve the supply of these capacitive displays as soon as they're ready. And they were, of course, pushing them for 1 or 2 or 3 years because there was a rumored iPhone in 2004, 2005, 2006. But I guess they were just waiting for the capacitive screen to be ready in a usable kind of like form factor and stuff. And it's again the thing that all these other guys, they didn't put the cash down. And are they going to do the same mistake now again? They are not putting the cash down, and now there's no more chips for anyone because people are just waiting. They're just waiting for Apple to do stuff, and then they put the money later, but then it's too late. All the iPhones and Macs, they're selling no problem, right? They have enough chips. They put the cash long time ago. Yeah. So Alternative O'Box wants us to talk about the future of Linux phones.
Which direction do you want me to go in? The positive one or the negative one?
Negative.
Because on the negative one, I think there will be no Linux phones. I think Android's next step is to get done with the Linux kernel and have their Zircon and Fuchsia stack running on Android runtime environment. That way, even the kernel is their own to control. With that said, I think that they've recently put in a lot of work in the Linux kernel to upstream everything, to make everything run more smoother, to have better upgrade cycles. So I don't know what direction Linux wants or the Android stuff wants to go in, but if Google wants, that could be done with Linux. But hopefully they don't do that, and they stick with Linux and make Linux better. On the part where Linux, there's more non-Android Linux stuff on phones. There've been some nice additions. Post Market OS, the Libre phone OS had. They also had one. Um, and all the GNOME and KD stuff looks really nice on phones now. So again, the issue becomes of an app ecosystem issue rather than um, the issue of whether we can make a powerful Linux GNU phone happen. It's more of, can we build that app ecosystem? Because if my phone doesn't have, say, WhatsApp or Discord or all my or Slack app native, or stuff like DRM for my Netflix, and the other apps I use, if those apps aren't there, then my Linux phone is mostly useless to me, because it's mostly WhatsApp that I'm still stuck with Android, and I haven't gone and bought a Pine phone for daily use. I don't think even stuff like Telegram or Signal has an app. Maybe Telegram has one. But yeah, like, I can't move away from WhatsApp. I don't like WhatsApp particularly, but because family and work is there, I can't move away from it. And there are certain other Android apps that I use on a regular basis. So it's genuinely about the app ecosystem. Uh, if that stuff gets solved, if everyone can, every phone distro can get to a point where this is the sort of marketplace we use, this is our app ecosystem, this is our app APIs that we use, and just use that as a thing instead of all of that being different, like, oh, we are using RPM, we are using Debian deb packages, we are using Pacman, we are using all that other stuff people use. If that's all consolidated into one Play Store like thing, then that might be better. But still, it's about beating the, or getting even close to the Android app ecosystem to get to the level of, you know, running like an Android phone or selling like an Android phone.
You were mentioning in the beginning. Can we go back to talking? You're saying something about the fuchsia, and do you think
Yes,
really that Google can swap
they already
the kernel?
they already have Android runtime running on it. I think you can, up to a point, run Android apps on Fuchsia now.
But what would be the point for them to do that?
They control all the code base directly. There's no, because if there's a very good write up. I'll share. Let me just fetch, and that explains how many of the components are not controlled by Android. And turns out, as soon as you get out of the kernel, everything's a Google project. So let's search. There are a few external libraries that they use, but for the most part, it's all Google internal stuff, which is all open source. It comes under all.
And because Linux is open, they can take the best parts and try to build it the way they would want.
Yeah. Let me just search for that article. Who
Can it be
shared it?
considered to be a fork of Linux?
Yeah, they do have a fork of which one? Well, Android has a fork of Linux called Android Linux. That's their branch, and it has Linux and then some modifications. Um, so
And the reason they've been doing Android Linux is to optimize the whole thing for what they want to do, right?
exactly,
To keep all the stuff out that they don't need.
yeah, they try to upstream it all the time. There've been some huge blockers that have uh, been upstreamed and improved upon in the main line, so that those components don't need to be rewritten by the Android team. But um, you know, it's, they might as well one day just get up and say, yeah, we are running our own kernel tomorrow.
You're finding something you can screen share to talk about
Yeah,
that?
I just put it in the chat. I can screen share, but it's a long article, So I just put that in the
Okay.
chat. It just goes through all the components um, that's different from a regular Linux distro, and it very well explains the setup and how Android works and what all components on the Linux kernel does Android use. So yeah, probably worth taking a look.
Nice. And I see there's 15 people watching. So if anybody feels like joining us and like to not ask the questions in the chat, but ask them with your own webcam, you're welcome to do that. Just there's a link. I posted the link right there in the chat. Is this a little bit is this a little bit the feeling of the open hours, where there's some kind of link everybody can join, and you've been doing that for a long time, huh?
Yeah, but I've taken open hours offline.
Yeah.
Because people don't like to talk. It's usually like when I take open hours online, this is what happens. I have a bunch of people, and then nobody talks, and it's just me talking for an hour, and it gets weird. So I was like, all right, I want all of you to communicate and like give me your opinion and talk and discuss. So if I take it offline, just promise me that we have a conversation. So I took it offline, and we have good conversation that way. And if some important episode comes up, I usually record it and upload it. Otherwise, it's just all offline.
Every Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thursday at I forget what time, but people can find it.
4 p.m. UTC.
And it's at the 96boards.org/open hours. No?
Yep.
In one word, the open hours. All right. Here's I think Linux-based phones have a shot if there's intentionally a purpose ecosystem made for something specific, like adaptable company software ecosystem. Yeah, like this. People want to be off the Google and off the tracking, and they want to be off the grid, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a little bit the purpose of some of these projects.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's more coming. All right. How about? Are there some other topics we could talk about? What's up? Do you go on what website do you like to check for news, tech news?
Twitter.
You go on the Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, but my Twitter feed is going to be weird.
Yeah.
There, you're live. And what is this? This is advertising. Do you watch movies? These movies?
Nah.
1977 horror films.
Mm-hmm.
The Chosen. Maybe it's not a horror. I've got stuff in Danish, and I've got so much stuff that if I put it on my YouTube channel, then maybe I'll get kicked off because I'm not allowed to talk about this whole stuff that's happening. The weird politics, and there's a little bit of a weird thing going on with people can't talk about what some people would say is not facts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit weird this time. Hopefully it'll end, because it's really weird. This trend that's happening where I don't know. It's like they're banning researchers talking about their research, or it's a little bit weird. Yeah. Do you have an idea? What else is cool to be talking about? Anybody else watching want to join? Please click the link, join in, and talk about what you want to talk about. And let's see if somebody sees that. It's out of 15 people. I'm sure there's one, right?
Mm-hmm.
One who wants to also join in. Maybe it's just a maybe. What do you think about this idea to do it's a little bit like what is it called? The Clubhouse, this app that people are talking about, but it's iOS only. No, have you tried it?
I don't have an iOS device.
Yeah, you don't emulate or something? Put through the emulator? No, I'm
Why,
joking.
why, why,
No,
why?
I'm just joking. Oh,
If someone
he
says
went.
RISC-V stuff,
Yeah, Risk 5 stuff. Do you have some Risk 5 stuff to talk about?
let me just patch up Leonardo logos. We can talk
Yeah.
about it. Um, all right, let's just say this is from personally from me and not from my employer. But it's, I think, going to give ARM a good competition, maybe not in terms of pure power, but in terms of adoption rate and cost effectiveness. Because the thing is, I don't even have to buy a RISC-V board to try out RISC-V. I can just implement on an FPGA and it works. And I don't have to pay any license fees to run it on an FPGA. So we'll see where the whole RISC-V stuff goes. Um, for the most part, if you say, "Ooh, what's faster, Android and ARM?" ARM or RISC-V, it's mostly like, ooh, how much money do you want to put in? Like architectures at some point stop having a lot of say in the actual performance if you're willing to put enough money into it. So if someone puts enough money and creates a really, 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 really good risk 5 code, there's no reason that it will not be faster than Intel or ARM. But if it ends up becoming just like an enthusiast thing for FPGA development and stuff like that, then maybe it's not as fast at the end of the day. So it's something to look forward into. And I hope ARM has a positive reaction to it and acknowledges that it exists and moves ahead, keeping that in mind that there's a serious competitor out there. And I think we should have some healthy competition in the future.
I mean, I think competition is great, but I think there's a lot of competition inside the ARM ecosystem,
Yeah.
where all these amazing chip designers, chip makers are just competing like crazy every day, and like they're all outperforming each other and coming with new custom features every day that are just completely crazy. And I don't know if it's a healthy thing that all this software becomes incompatible from one day to the other, right? Because can you run the ARM stuff on the RISC-V stuff? I guess not. Oh, I don't know.
Uh, uh, yeah, a lot of software has been. Alibaba ported Android to RISC-V, so it's working on the internal processes for the time being. I don't think so. The thing ARM did for the CPU architecture industry market, whatever your ecosystem, basically, ARM came in when it started to become relevant for people like us to run Linux. It came in and it made most of the Linux projects architecture independent, whereas earlier every project was written with x86 in mind because that's the only thing they'll ever going to need to run it on. ARM came in, and when the optimizations for ARM were put in, they were put in a way that it allowed the projects to add multiple architectures in them on a later date. So I don't think RISC-V is going to hit a large wall like ARM did with the optimization and the porting side of software porting side of things, because ARM did the hard work for them. RISC-V will have challenges in like very fine tuning optimization, but as far as initial port to a software goes and making any software say hello on the screen goes, I think it should be very smooth, and it's been kind of smooth for the RISC-V team.
But when people make an IoT device, uh, let's say, for example, uh, like a software engineer goes and runs some kind of art task, like let's say the one from Amazon, or um, and maybe
Zephyr, my favorite one. Yeah.
Zephyr. Yeah, they go on Zephyr. Um, can they really just like say, "Oh, I'd go on a RISC-V instead"? or is
Sure.
it like
Zephyr already runs on RISC-V. FreeRTOS has RISC-V ports. FreeRTOS is the Amazon one, from what I remember correctly. Many other already do, so I don't think there's an issue there.
so there like isn't it like millions and millions of apps that have been optimized for the ARM and that you would need to recompile and change and start all over? Isn't that like a huge issue?
Starting over is not a huge issue because that's what ARM had to deal with because everything was x86. Again, as I said, when ARM put all of that huge investment in, what ended up happening, like a lot of projects went into, all right, we optimize our project for multiple architectures, some of the stuff that might come in future as well. So the compilation stuff isn't that difficult. It's just about making it run fast on RISC-V and optimizing it. That will still require quite a bit of investment from different companies. So yeah, I agree with that. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Jose says, I have my Linux-based devices company. I think he's in Cuba. Also software. If I move to the States, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a visionary. How about Jose? If you want to join, you just join. I'm sure you have a nice internet connection and a webcam, and you can talk about your Linux-based devices company if you want. Or just contact me. We can do a video at another time if you want to talk about it. And his next comment is, there's already open core designs based on RISC-V ESA. A lot of software. You can create any and program any type of controllers and more complex things.
So I don't like own a RISC-V dev board, but I own this, which is an FPGA, and I can basically put in a RISC-V core on this and boot Linux. That's a dev board on demand. And I can upgrade the core.
RISC-V has a lot been mostly FPGA thus far, no? I mean, there's 2 or 3 chips. I'm not sure of how much they do.
Yeah, there are 2 or 3, but yeah, for the most part, it's been FPGA because like it's sort of easier. Like they cost the same as dev boards right now. It's like, especially Xilinx have made a lot of effort to make FPGAs cheap, and you can just buy an off-the-shelf FPGA board and then have these RISC-V cores ported onto it. The improvement you get is that if a new feature gets added to that RISC-V core, you can just update the design on the FPGA, reflash it, and you actually have an updated hardware. So yeah, the barrier to entry is it's a bit less on RISC-V.
There's this comment to check also the MIPS company transitioned to RISC-V. Wasn't one of the founders of the MIPS company the actual guy, one of the 2 guys that started the whole RISC idea back in the 81 or 2 or something?
MIPS and ARM started together with the RISC thing. MIPS just got a lot more head start because like companies invested in them. And then ARM came along and MIPS sort of stranded themselves, and they didn't really update or adopt, and then ARM just came and took over.
As far as I understand, John Hennessy, right?
Yeah.
And yes, MIPS is by John Hennessy. So you have John Hennessy. I don't remember. Is John Hennessy the guy that's now like the chairman of the board at Google, or is it the other guy? There was 2 guys, right? That did the RISC project originally. And I'm just guessing here, but I'm thinking that I don't know how happy they were that these British guys took the idea and made it like a 12 billion chips per year. And maybe they're somewhat also wanting to get back at that somehow. I don't know if that's something to do with this, because they, the Acorn guys, they took the idea and they made it happen, like in a way that nobody else did, right?
Yeah.
Counterpart to Patterson, who did the Berkeley risk. So Patterson or John Hennessy, who's the guy that's involved with the RISC-V Foundation and stuff? It's one of these two guys. No, I'm always mixing up. I think one of them is now chairman of the Googles, or something crazy like that, which is also fun. I think he took over from Eric Schmidt, as far as I remember. I didn't follow the latest, if that's still actual. But that's also kind of fun, that the guy who's originating the whole RISC idea.
Yeah, David Patterson, vice chair of the board at RISC-V.
So Patterson is at the RISC-V, but now his old friend John Hennessy is also doing a bunch of RISC-V stuff. So they're still having some fun, I guess, which is awesome. But I write better than how I speak. Well, we can do this in Spanish, right? You speak Spanish, no?
Me?
Yeah?
No.
No? You can try. You can use Google Translate or something. And he says, my internet bandwidth sucks. My internet bandwidth sucks too. It took me an hour to get going with this. But actually, I think it's a bug on the Melon app. The other system I was trying to use, it just didn't work. So I went over to the StreamYard right now. And also, behind the live, as long as you don't have like a Cuban firewall or something that blocks innovation. I'm just joking. There is not, right? There's not like a equivalent of the Chinese firewall in Cuba, right? All the websites are allowed. You can go and visit Joe Biden's website anytime, any day, right? I think, I guess. And they should open up. Like Obama did something in the last year of his presidency, where he was kind of, as far as I remember, he was opening up and like he was like high-fiving the Cubans and saying, let's be friends, something like that. And then Trump came back and closed the whole thing down again and saying, no way, you're not allowed to go and give them tourism money, something like that, tourism dollars. It's very weird. It's like the Cuba is so near the U.S. Why can't they just be friends? You know, like trade. Doesn't matter who's the president and what the system is. Just trade. Like let people trade. As I don't know. That's politics. You like politics?
I like politics when it's offline and I can talk to a person,
Yeah.
not line in front.
No, it doesn't get broadcast forever and stays on the internet forever. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. All right. Oh, okay. So, do you have is there another awesome thing that you are like excited about? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Let's see. Yeah, apart from this kind of daily work, not much.
Yeah, your daily work is awesome, but I'm thinking like just to get some stories going. I wonder if maybe if I get over to my browser window here.
Yeah, let's see what's on.
It says Fed charge man with planning to blow up an Amazon data center. Sounds like weird. He allegedly wanted to kill most of the internet. Whoa. There's this crazy thing happening in OVH fire. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Did you have any websites hosted on this?
No.
Because that's a crazy thing. That it really impacted a lot of stuff in Europe and France and stuff. And it's weird. It's just one data center. And it just one burns down. There's so much that gets impacted, and they have so much trouble getting all their stuff running again, which is so weird. Because I thought that all these guys had redundancy, you know, like that the
should.
whole point of the internet, it should just continue working.
Do you know about Floatplane?
What do you say? Float?
Do you know about Floatplane? FLOATPLANE.
No.
It's so Linus Tech Tips, the YouTube channel. They started their own streaming service called Floatplane, but they made their like base architecture of that streaming service so well designed that their stuff was hosted on that, and they had their streaming servers on that property, and which did go down. They had zero downtime just because how well their whole base system was, I
So they
guess,
had stuff in that data center, and
yeah, and it was like just one of the many caching data centers and like streaming centers they had, and because it was they had so many of them and it was spread around the world, that one went down and their uptime was not affected at all.
I'm interesting to service to check this out. What do you call it? Floatplane.
Yeah, FLOATPLAN. Yeah, that's the one.
Say hello to Floatplane. I wonder if they use PeerTube.
I doubt, because they redid everything from scratch. They don't use anything.
Because PeerTube is using, I think they're using BitTorrent to live stream and using peer-to-peer. I wonder if this thing does something like that or not.
From what I know, they re-engineered everything from the ground up, because they were earlier, they didn't even have a website. They were just running from the forums. I can share, because I have subscription. I can actually share my screen and show it to you guys.
So yeah, you want me to change to your screen?
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
let me know. Yeah, so it's interesting for me to see that, because I think the PeerTube looks interesting, like a peer-to-peer thing, but YouTube is so gigantic, and 4 billion views per day. Nobody's ever going to catch up. So I put your screen on, right?
Yep.
So is that the Floatplane?
Yeah, they have other creators as well, but I just like subscribe to the main channel. But yeah, like they had the same issue. Their sites were hosted, but like there was no disruption of service. And I think you can go up to 4K on this, and they have like very very high bandwidth. So even like 1080p looks super crisp, unlike YouTube. So you don't have to go to 4K for like a good or video quality. You can have 1080p, and there's no artifacting or anything. I think they do.
What happened in the top right corner when you click on the three on the little? Is there an info button or something in the corner top right of the video?
Yeah. Looks
just
like
says the title.
Yeah,
and what happened if you right click on a video? Does it do?
No.
Does it show you what it's kind of like doing? Is it like WebRTC something?
No. You can download the entire clip and like just watch it offline if you want to.
So they're not. You don't think they're doing peer-to-peer? You think they just host everything?
I think they host everything, and they have a lot of servers all around the world.
Because what I thought was amazing, really interesting with the PeerTube is that I didn't know that every modern browser has BitTorrent client built in. Like there's a peer-to-peer capability on everybody's server, web browser, and I was like impressed. It's just part of the WebRTC kind of thing, that there is some kind of peer-to-peer thing. So while you're watching the stream, you could be uploading it to somebody else, and they could be saving a bunch of bandwidth this way. And here's a comment: interest in GPT-3. Do you know this?
I've heard about it. I don't know what it is. Generative pre-trained transformer 3 is an auto-aggressive language model for OpenAI stuff.
So Andy, if you want, please click the link. It's in the chat. It's in the description. You can join and you can explain what you think about this. Maybe you have some ideas and you can share. VMware is going to win big with this whole architecture Cambrian explosion. What is that? VMware is investing in something?
They recently did a bunch of stuff with ARM.
All right. OpenAI, general purpose text. Yeah, I need to switch my battery. Could you imagine a world full of mobile devices solar powered based on open source hardware? Open source, not non-Android Linux. Working as a powerful supercomputer. You're doing some stuff with a supercomputer, right? You're doing your own supercomputer.
No,
right?
I get that.
I'm just gonna switch my battery for a second.
Sure.
Do you have another topic? Yeah, I cannot find my.
I am aggressively looking for new topics.
All right. I can't find my battery. It's weird.
Battery for what? Webcam?
Yeah, I'm using my. I put it somewhere. Yeah. I'll just switch to another webcam. To my Panasonic G9. So maybe I can switch to. There. Yeah, it's strange. I had another battery, but I can't find it right now. All right. Okay, I'm back with the backup webcam right here. So yeah, aggressively looking for a topic. Anybody else in the chat have an idea? we're going long.
What do you think is going to happen to Wear OS?
Isn't Google just launching a bunch of smartwatches right now?
Yeah, but who's buying them?
So what are they going to run on them?
Just
Are they calling them Pixel smartwatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did check what's the latest on that. So is it going to be Wear OS? Probably, right?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what they're planning on. Like, how are they planning to promote Wear OS? Like, it just seems to be clunky at this point, and like Apple Watch is miles ahead in terms of functionality and battery life.
I think Google can do a great job and very easily. They just have to do one thing.
Put more money in it.
It's such an easy thing. They just have to just buy the right display, and source the right display, and that would change everything. If they get a display to be, they could get a clear ink display. I did the video with Clear Ink company, or they could. This doesn't look like an e-ink, but they need to have a sun readable, full color, ultra low power display. And then it will run weeks on a battery.
I have an e-ink display smartwatch, but
nice.
not full color, but has like a proper dial and everything.
What is that?
It's a Fossil Hybrid HR. I can actually pull the website up in a second. But it has about a week and a half of battery life, easy.
Nice. Sorry, I'm unplugged. I've got some issue with my webcam. It's strange that my battery ran out.
Yeah, this is the exact one I have. Let's see if I can share the screen. This one.
All right.
So yeah, the response time on the e-ink display is a bit lacking. Still takes a second to refresh or something like that. But for the most part, my annoyance. I was annoyed with the daily charging, and at some point it was even like 12-hourly charging, so I had to charge half day, and it just got super annoying. Also, again, the battery life issue is very, very bad because these cells are tiny, these battery packs are tiny in the smartwatches, and they tend to deteriorate very, very quickly. So where I was getting 2 days, and then within a year it was 1 day, and then now if I turn them on, it's like half day. Maybe it stretches to a full day if I don't use it much. But like, yeah, that's the point. You need better display tech. You need better. Um, you need better processors, and like Google needs to stop running an entire Android OS on their watches. Like that's not helping at all. Um, yeah.
Yes, I remember you were. Can you hear me? I hope my. Yeah.
Yeah, mic's
Uh,
working.
yeah, I remember you talking about that you were looking for a low power smartwatch. You want a weak battery and you want very simple use, right? I was recommending you to check out um, the Pebble Time secondhand, and they have this Rebel OS open
So
source
no, the
version of
problem
their.
is we in India doesn't have a Pebble market here, so
Yeah,
there's no
impossible to
possibility of
find.
impossible to find a second hand one. Um, but also like a second hand one is a second hand one. I needed something new, you know. So
Yeah.
and this is the closest thing it gets to it, I guess, as of now.
But uh, I think Wear OS is great. It's just if they can get a low power display on this and run, I think they should be able to run a full Wear OS for a month on a battery, or at least
That
a
would be
week or
ideal.
two, and they can
Yeah.
totally do it. They just have to get the right display. So they
And
put the
battery.
cash
No,
there. Like Apple
I,
is not doing it,
I
but
don't.
they should.
I don't think the battery, the display is like display is a part of the issue. I don't think it's the entire issue. Like Paul's already asking, what's the Android Wear stack like? It's not very. So what's the Wear OS stack like? It's not very Android like. It is Android. It's a full blown Android OS. They just cut down on the apps and the graphical stuff to make it fit in the memory. It's a full blown Android ecosystem. You can sideload Android APKs onto your watch and they work. Like that's the problem. They're running a stack that's meant for mobile on something that has quarter the horsepower and 1/10 the battery. I'm exaggerating with the battery, but the battery is stupid small. Um, and they're running on that device. That's why I think there's a huge gap in
But how
performance.
low power consumption can you go and run and Wear OS? What do you think?
Not a
Shouldn't they
whole
be
lot
able to go
because
very low? They should be
no,
able to find a way to do
because
that. No.
it's no, it's not native code. It's not C or Rust. It's not. It's all Android apps, and it needs entire Linux stack to run properly. You need multiple cores to run it properly. Quad core is like the minimum. So like running quad core on that small of a power budget, it's really bad. So I think so the thing with Apple is Apple can really reshape their OS in multitude of ways, slice components from it completely. The Wear OS that they run on their watches, or the Apple Wear OS, I don't know what they call it, is very, 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 very slim down. It's still Unix, like it's still running their XNU kernel, but it's very slim down. Google just took Android, Android and run it on an OS. I think that's one of the problem. The other problem is just like the CPU itself consumes a lot of power. Ideally, for a smartwatch, I'd say use a microcontroller and a real-time OS. Don't if you need a month-long battery life, you cannot get that with a APU, with an application processing unit like a Cortex A. You need to go Cortex M0 or like a Cortex M4 at a minimum, because those things have advanced power saving options. You can really just make them sip energy. They run on milliwatts. So I honestly think don't run the entire Linux stack on your
Can can't
watch.
these guys do some hybrid jungling, going around with putting the Android
They do.
stack to sleep,
Casio.
and then run
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. Casio.
M0 most of the time.
Casio has that. So Casio has a few smart watches with Android Wear that do that. Let me just take a look. Android Wear.
So yeah, you just make the OS sleep when you don't need it, and you can still run for
Yeah,
months on a battery, and
yeah,
you still have the option to run whatever app you want when you want. But so the battery life can go from 3 days if you like play games constantly on it, or to like a month, and it should be a sunlight readable display. Please, no backlight. That would
yeah.
be great. Maybe just have a front light, and
Now,
so if you are in the dark, you should still be able to
would
see
they,
what the time is.
what Casio does is um, they have dual display, and like the front display is this. Let me just share again. Um, the front display is either the dial that I have on my watch, or like a digital display, um, and the back display is the full color OLED display. So when the Android Wear is put to sleep, the back display goes black, and the front display comes up, um, and and basically acts as a regular LCD, old school monochrome LCD watch, and can go for months.
Nice. That's an awesome hybrid. But I
Yeah.
think Google could go to the next step and just make sure that their front display is sipping power and is fully sunlight readable, and it's not trying to max out the brightness so you can see something when you go outside. Like that's what all these LCDs and OLEDs are doing. Is just you're using so much power. So if they can just have it be sunlight readable, reflective display, they only need to put like $200 million or like $500 million. It's not that much.
Yeah.
Just put it there and make sure that it's a mass production and have millions, and then sell this watch for, I don't know. I want it to be affordable. I guess they cannot really compete with the Swatch, the Swiss watch.
Yeah.
Like they cannot make it like $79, but they could, I don't know, 149 or something, 200 maybe if it's like really worth it. Just don't be too expensive, and provide something that really changes. Like the smartwatch should have been so great, but people haven't really done what they should have. I was screaming at the Swatch CEO. I mean, not screaming, but like I interviewed him 5 years ago. And
The problem
I
with,
was
with
asking, why are you not trying to compete with this Apple Watch? And he just said it's not a watch. The Apple Watch is an Apple
that's
thing. It's not a watch.
yeah, that's a problem. Like these larger watch companies put themselves on a pedestal that's much higher than these gimmicks, what they call. So if you don't call, so here's the thing, they don't call it a watch, they call it a chronometer, because like they like to put that themselves at that step, which in a mental situation makes them much higher, in terms of class, um, than say an Apple Watch. Otherwise, how do they justify the cost of thousands of dollars for a single watch versus the Apple Watch, right? Because technology wise, their watch runs on a technology that like ages old.
Yeah.
So I think that's like it's one of their
I'm
um
Swiss, right? So
yeah.
I kind of want to believe that there is something to the Swiss watch that makes it so valuable, right? And it's just amazing small mechanics, which
Yeah.
is totally awesome. But these guys at Swatch, they have all these components. They're working in the components area of electronics, and they also working in the batteries, and they're working in, like they have solar, they have displays, but not only in their own components. They should just partner with all these suppliers of this tech that could, because they could be like I want Europeans to provide some competition to the giant Americans. So it would be nice if the Swiss were like investing 2 or 3 billion and trying to do something like a new platform. But I'm still waiting. It's been like 7-8 years now that yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But maybe Google is doing the right thing. Finally, maybe that would be great. But probably they won't, right? Because so many times I'm disappointed with what they come with. But we'll see. I haven't read. Maybe there's more information in the leaks about all this stuff. I had a Motorola 360 Gen 1 when it launched. It was a burden to keep it charged after the first year.
Yeah.
So the battery died.
Yeah, the lithium-ion batteries just don't last that long, because the problem with lipos are like, the smaller they are, the shorter their life is, because you can rapidly charge them and rapidly discharge them, and that's sort of what puts stress on all the chemicals. So the larger lithium packs usually have a much higher life cycle, so that's not a problem. Especially like in phones which have like 6,000 mAh batteries, they'll last ages. But like really tiny 250 mAh, 300 mAh lipos just don't work properly. I guess I wonder if they launch it during Google I/O, because that's happening virtually this year.
When it's happened?
It's going to happen. Let's see, but it got announced. May 18th to 20th. Next month.
All right. I've been disappointed with the Google I/Os for a decade.
Ages. Yes.
It's always been like, I really like the one where they landed, they jumped off the airplane with the Google Glass. That was a cool Google I/O. That was like exciting.
Yeah,
and then
like
after that,
the one where they showed the whole Google ARPA stuff. Google ARPA had been amazing to watch during the I/Os, but again, that whole thing got dismantled and thrown away.
Yeah, I mean, of course they're doing awesome stuff and great, awesome stuff. But I'm just like, I think Sergey Brin was excited, and it was 2014, 13, and they did the jumping off the airplane with the, and then after there was so much trashing them. They were like all these Apple fanboy websites are trash. They trashed the Google Glass, and they're like, so nothing happened. They didn't even sell this. They didn't even put it in the store.
Yeah,
it's weird. But now everybody thinks it's coming back because Apple is going to do a augmented reality system, and that's the rumor, right? So it's maybe coming out this year, and this is the big. Maybe it's going to be. Oh, who knows? Maybe it's going to be great, but I mean, it's not like others weren't able to do it. They just didn't do it. They could have. I mean, the technology's been there for a while now, I think.
Yeah.
Andy is talking about the GPT-3 is shockingly powerful general purpose language for AI. GPT-2 was impressive because it's too disruptive. GPT-4 will be in training. So Andy, if you want to talk about it, please join at some point, or in the future, maybe you can maybe let me know who's the expert in this field, and maybe I can try to interview them about the stuff that you're talking about. And Jose is hiding. Are you hiding? No, I know it was for the previous comment. If they can make those transparent OLED screens to hide cameras, they can use it to combine OLED with ink. Yeah. So the whole thing about hiding the cameras behind the OLED screens, why not? I just think that cameras are so small. I still don't understand why phones have notches, because you could just have it in the edge of the thing. You could not. Like you can have an edgeless phone that still has an edge that's big enough, like 2-3 millimeter, whatever you need, to just have a little dot, so you can have your little crappy selfie camera. That every phone has a crappy selfie camera. So what's the whole notch? That's a different. That's completely different story. And trying to do it transparently through the phone, maybe why not? But well, we'll see. I still want to see my edge selfie cam. Just somebody do it in the edge, like in the edge of the edge, or make a little bump on the top of the phone that adds a little, like a tiny little bump that you don't even see, or that's still symmetric or something. Okay. Are you checking out something cool?
I am signing up for Google I/O.
Oh, nice. You're choosing a seat in the front?
If so, in the sign up page, they have a question called, "If you could ask Sundar one question about the future of technology, what would it be?"
Nice. What did you write?
I don't know. I'm thinking, what do I write?
So why didn't you offer to acquire ARM? You should have doubled the price of Nvidia.
Nvidia
And
is
then
much larger than Google, isn't it? Nvidia is huge.
no, I don't think it's larger than Google.
Is it?
No.
Uh,
Market cap.
that's what
The
I'm looking
Nvidia market cap is right now is 350 billion, and Google market cap is 5 times more, 1.5 trillion. So I think
Never
Google should
mind.
have offered a price to buy Nvidia and ARM, and then open source it, and then make it free, and then give it to China. I don't know, whatever. Okay, maybe that's too much. What Google needs to do, there's so much Google needs to do. For one, they should, if they claim Android is open, they should just really make it open. Like the dailies, as they develop the next versions of the Android, it should be open, right? Is it? Did they do anything in that direction, or still not? They're keeping everything secret. Every new generation, every new version of Android is developed in secrecy, isn't it?
Yeah. So what happens is there's the main AOSP branch, the Android open source side of branch, and then there's the internal development branch. And the internal development branch gets the new fancy features, and when it's released, it's announced, it'll merge up with the Android open source branch. So it's developed in privacy, but they do put everything out there pretty soon.
Okay, so they put it out sooner than maybe they did before, but it's still in privacy. And what's the idea? Why would they want to do that? Why can't they just make it fully open and let all the companies work in a level playing field, and not having some favorite OEMs, or what they call, like to have earlier access. If you have 6 months earlier access to stuff that's so important like Android, well, you got the newcomers are never going to have a chance. Okay, that's a little. And maybe I'd like to ask Sundar, when is he going to launch an M1 killer Chromebook at half the price of the M1 MacBook Air? Totally killer. So use a Qualcomm or make your own M1 killer. And it should be released before Google I/O. That's what I think. But okay, maybe I'm asking too much. So
I'm just asking, when's the next leapfrog in battery technology, and something that will actually be in users' hand rather than dying off in a lab?
Yeah, when I would like to ask Sundar, when is he going to launch the first self-driving car outside of Phoenix, Arizona? Because it's been 10 years. We've been waiting for these self-driving cars. And as far as I understand, they all work. They work great. And they're actually safer than me as a driver, or safer than any human driver in terms of statistics and keeping people alive and stuff like that. So why aren't they everywhere? Why are people talking about them for years and years, but they're not making them available? And that's just one thing. Why is there a Google X doing all these cool, awesome projects, but none of them, not a single one, is released? Nothing. They are not putting anything out there. Okay, maybe there is something. I forgot what it is, but it's like pretty much like nothing.
Yeah.
Why did they do all this awesome innovation? Have these awesome people inventing stuff like crazy, and they're not putting like $1. I'm not saying dollar, like $1 billion to put them out, like for the mass market. When you have all these geniuses, you need to put the money behind them, just release the stuff so we can enjoy this stuff, and instead of just reading news stories about them for decades before something happens. Okay, sorry, maybe it's weird when I'm talking about. So you did send
the play of R&D for everyone. 90% of the things die in the lab, 10% get out.
Yeah, for Google, if it was 10%, I would be lucky. But seeing what all that funny website with all the stuff they killed.
Yeah, killed by Google.com. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Have you heard about Flutter?
Yeah, I've seen Flutter. I'd be more interested if it ever came into the desktop space, but looks like it's for mobile only for the time being.
Yeah, but now there's Flutter 2 just got announced recently, and there was a guy from Canonical on stage, and as far as I understand, they use it as a priority to try to make sure that it has great desktop support, because if
That's
people can
nice.
make all these Android apps and iOS apps with one source code,
Yeah,
and if those can work smoothly on Windows, Mac, and Linux, that's a great. And this is supposed to be possible right now. So with one Dart source code, you can get your app to be Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, Linux, and web. And they're even going to support, I don't know how they're going to do the URLs and stuff inside an app, but it's going to be like a single app website, like where you go on a website and it's kind of like an app on the web app kind of thing. But maybe there's not so much deep linking happening there because it's maybe harder to do. But new verse 6 says Ubuntu will be using in future. Maybe be using the Flutter.
Oh, Flutter, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought maybe it's interesting. I'm trying to learn as much as possible about the Flutter. But again, I just hope that Google just puts the billions behind it if it's really working out, and doesn't just kill it like they killed everything pretty much. That's not Gmail and Google Maps. Or don't stop killing stuff. Put the billions and keep putting the billions, and make sure that stuff gets mass produced. Even when you talk about software platforms and stuff like that. We've done 2 hours. That's awesome that you saw it and that you joined. Did you see the post I did on Twitter, or how do you see this?
Yeah, the post you did in Twitter. Then I opened up in YouTube.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's just the idea to host a conference this way, just on YouTube, and see if maybe next time somebody else would like to join. Also, this platform can support like 6 or 10 people at the same time, and maybe there could be like some kind of debate happening on my YouTube channel, or some people having some opinions about stuff. So we've done like nearly 2 movies now. Thanks a lot. In one episode. All right. Peter Thiel said Google wastes money by keeping in bank than investing. Yeah. Yeah. How many Bitcoins did you buy in 2011? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking about that. Peter Thiel. Yeah, he did say something interesting recently. He said maybe China could attack US. They could attack the US through Bitcoin, through breaking the Bitcoin. I'm not totally sure what the whole story was, but like China is controlling most of the mining. They control all the hardware for mining. They control most of the mining because they don't regulate some regions that have very low cost power and stuff like that. And that's where they do all the mining right now. But from one day to the other, China could just say, oh, you want to mine? Is 10 times more expensive, the energy. They could kill mining if they wanted. But I think they should kill. I'm just jealous because I didn't buy any Bitcoin in 2011. But in startup. Yeah, so they should just invest a lot of money in startups. Well, I don't know if that's one way to invest in startups, but I think Google should, of course, invest in startups, but invest in the hardware, and not just make iPhone apps. Of course, they make Android apps also, but it's funny how Google often has their apps release the features coming on iOS before they come on Android, and it's like, this is a joke. But I mean, the Silicon Valley, it's supposed to be about the silicon, not just about iPhone apps. So maybe they should wake up and just start making hardware, and not just like have Trump
Silicon
scream at China.
Silicon moved away from Silicon Valley and landed on on TSMC.
Yeah, in China. Okay, it's Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Yeah, Bitcoin will kill petrodollar. I think it's possible that this new digital currency that China is doing, the digital yuan, they should just go crazy with that and maybe back it up with their gold reserves. Like put, I don't know how many, like $1 trillion worth of gold to back it up, and then offer it to all the countries in Africa, and to offer it to, when they want to help African countries, just say, okay, just use our digital yuan and I don't know, build schools and help the children and all this stuff. And they should be doing that, like just because everybody in Africa is getting a smartphone, and they could just run their app and have those digital Chinese money. But it should be controlled by the Chinese government, not just be some crypto thing that some people mine in the corner and they steal everything. As soon as you lose your key or something, you lose all your money. Just have it safe, like hosted on Alibaba Cloud or whatever. Yeah, that's what I think they should do. But I'm not. I'm just a YouTuber. You would join when your cam is sorted. Yeah, please sort your cam and welcome to join. So I have another episode actually tomorrow morning. So I'll be at 9 a.m. Central European time doing another episode of this. If anybody sees this and would like to join tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to be so long. Thanks a lot, Sahaj, for helping make it interesting.
No worries.
But because the one I did earlier today, I was sitting there for 28 minutes. Nobody joined, and so I just stopped. So I tried again later in the day, because I'm not totally sure when is a good time to do, because it needs to be a chance for somebody around the world to join. I should do it just at any time. Ali Cloud, Rocket, Batman on a tree. Yeah, I don't know how good Ali Cloud is. I'm always excited to see if somebody is competing with Google Drive unlimited storage, which is something people can do, or the Amazon Deep Archive, $1 per terabyte per month cloud storage. I think it's exciting. I have like 30 terabytes backed up, and it's really important to have backup on the cloud. But I want to see some people come with even cheaper, and it would be great if Ali would do that or somebody, but I haven't seen it yet. China had fake gold in banks. They have invested too much in Belt and Road project. Well, I don't know. At least as far as I know, China doesn't go around bombing people in all like 100 different countries. As far as I know, they don't do that. Like some other countries doing that. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I like when people don't go around bombing other countries and like giving them sanctions if they don't like the president or dictator or whoever they have. You can't go around, I think, telling people who they should have as president. Even if you think the president is stupid or evil or something, just trade with them. And okay, maybe I shouldn't talk like this. My video is going to get deleted by the Googles. You can't, it's not allowed to talk stuff like this. I'm just going to say, if you trade with countries, it doesn't matter who you trade with. You trade with Cuba or North Korea, or I'm sorry, I mentioned them in the same order. But if you trade with Iran, just trade with Iran. Sell them American football. I don't know, whatever. Just sell them burgers. Like they're allowed to eat cheeseburgers, right? In Iran. I'm joking, but they just like sell them stuff, and there'll be peace. And then eventually they'll probably change presidents, and they'll change to someone that you think is better. If you have why should you even have an opinion? I don't know. Okay, I'm talking too much. And they fake gold. You can test gold. You just drill in the gold and you check if it's real gold and stuff. I think I saw a rumor that China just bought 20 tons, or I don't know how many, 20,000 tons. I forgot, 20 million tons. They bought a lot of gold, I think, recently. Because okay, let's not talk about the weird gold investment. Gold only invest in tech, adding value possibilities. The rest, shit coins, day trading, gambling, fashion fads is not tech. Worse, gambling against climate action. Yeah, this is it's true that there's so much pump and dumping and of crap startups and Clubhouse BS. I'm joking. But all these different things that just get, you have these VCs, they go around, as far as I understand, in the Silicon Valley and all these places, they go around and they invest in startups, and then they try to get other people to invest in for more money, and the other people that's the only goal they have is to make money by the Series A being worth less than the Series B and C. But it doesn't matter if the startup is doing any money. They don't care. It's like it doesn't matter. And these Silicon Valley companies are valued 100 times more than the income. It's like crazy talk what's happening. And who knows, maybe the whole thing is going to crash. Sell them Netflixes. So you're going to sell Netflix to Google? Well, I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Netflix is so awesome, actually. There's too many good shows. I'm actually watching an Apple show right now. I didn't think Apple would do anything of interest, but I'm just checking out this morning show. It's called Morning Show, with this Brad Pitt ex-wife. It's possible to watch some shows on all these platforms. It's cool that they invest so much money on content, and I hope they have been able to make new episodes over the last year, because maybe the whole thing has been just stuck, and I don't know, just all these actors and directors sitting at home and watching Netflix, and then there's no new episodes, nothing new happening, and we all have to watch the old episodes now. Okay, I hope they're coming with new content. Okay, I'm talking too much. Yeah. Okay, but thanks a lot. I think I don't want to what's it called? Make it last too long. The show. Mm-hmm. But thanks a lot for being on the show and joining.
No worries.
All right, cool. And thanks everybody for watching. And if everybody wants to join tomorrow morning, I'll do another episode. So please consider joining and subscribing the bell, because then you might see when it happens, because I'm not totally sure when I would be doing the next ones. It's better if I can kind of like schedule them and the thing, but I only watch YouTube shows now. Yeah, YouTube has everything and all. There's so much awesome content. The trick is to know what to search for. Because if you just go from cat video to cat video, it's a little bit the waste of human time if you only watch cats. But there's so much like awesome stuff. Just the question is, what do you want to find? It's like, this is a little bit like the being overwhelmed with too much information. You can see the internet being essentially forked by work progress of fads entertainment. Yeah. This actually the internet is so awesome, but the and it's been there for nearly 30 years, right? So it's so awesome, the web, but the potential hasn't even been reached. Like, I don't think we've reached 5% of the potential good that the internet can do. I think there's so much more that can be done to make the world a better place, and hopefully I would think the Googles should have done that, but if they don't, then somebody else needs to step up. And I think you can do it, Sahaj. You can make the bright future, right? Somebody needs to just use all this potential, all these phones and these things that are connected, but use them in a positive way, and not have this crazy, stupid thing where everybody is staying at home for, I'm not going to say for no reason, but for this weird thing that's happening where humans are so smart and they can get so much more done if they just, use their smartness in a smart way. Okay. I don't want to get banned from YouTube. Sorry. Okay. I'm sure that not the AI, the Google AI doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
All praise the Google lords.
All right.
Don't ban us.
No, thank you very much, Google. Thanks for the bandwidth. Thanks for the search rankings and the stuff and the free storage, unlimited free bandwidth, unlimited free storage. That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. But thanks for your time. And thanks everybody for watching. Cool. I'll stop the show.